It's the too early show, too early roster predictions, too early division chatter, and too early power rankings. If it matters later, it'll matter now. Buckle up for another episode of the Locked On Texans podcast.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, Bulls on parade. Welcome to this episode of the Locked On Texan podcast. I am your Texans football analyst and credential media member, John Hickman. And listen, the Hickman talking Houston sports, that just goes together. And that's why you guys are here. We are talking Texans here on today's show. Too early show. The too early power rankings, right? Do they matter? Are you kind of upset at where the league views the Houston Texans after what some calls a disappointing sophomore season from C.J. Stroud, sophomore season from D'Amico Ryans, sophomore season from Bobby Slowick? Two are still here, one of which is gone. They've replaced them. So maybe the league is fair in viewing the Houston Texans kind of middle of the pack right now. Too early AFC South conversation. Are you scared of the Indianapolis Colts? Do they strike fear in your heart? But also too early defensive roster predictions. What do I think the Houston Texans will do when it's time to make moves? Thank you for making the Locked On Texans podcast your first listen of the day and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into the too early conversations, I just want to give you guys an update on some important dates for the Houston Texans that we all need to be looking forward to, including the rookie mini camp that's kicking off May 9th in a couple of days, OTAs May 28th through May 30th, and then again in June 2nd, June 3rd, plus June 5th, mandatory mini camp June 10th and 11th, and the start of training camp will be kicking off in late July, later in the week. We'll kind of get more into the conversation of what the rookie mini camps will look like. But guys, please keep in mind, this is just a great opportunity for the new draft picks and undrafted free agents to come in and get acclimated to the NFL, get acclimated to the city of Houston, get acclimated to the NRG Stadium. I wouldn't be shocked if we're going to start seeing some of these rookie contracts signed soon. And I wouldn't be surprised at the time of this recording, May 6th at 5:45, if we don't start seeing some of these rookie jersey numbers revealed. And I hope the receivers are sticking to receiver numbers. I know a lot of you guys wanted Matthew Golden here in Houston, but I'm going to be real with you. 22 on a receiver just looks nasty. It looks nasty, and that ain't something I'm trying to see. So hopefully we'll see Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, those guys with some numbers that matches the receivers. And I kind of wonder if we'll see some of these jerseys that typically belong to other players, if we'll see those guys fight for that. We'll start hearing stories about guys saying, hey, listen, I'll pay you $50,000 for that jersey. And the rebuttal is, nah, I can't do the 50, but I can do it for 75. But today on today's show, I'll be looking at the too early roster predictions, and I'm starting on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going right back to the group that I think is thin. I'm going right back to the group that I think more people should be looking at, and I'm going right back to the cornerback unit. The Houston Texans utilized the 4-2-5 nickel defense last season a lot, featuring 5 defensive backs on the field a lot. That formation was employed around 80% of the time, serving as the base defense for the Houston Texans under head coach D'Amico Ryans. That cornerback room right now, and when I say cornerback, I am excluding Jalen Petrie, the young man who just got paid. All-Pro Derek Stingley, not a worry there. He'll be going into his sophomore, and Kamari Lassiter, the sophomore year coming up, loading. He's working out. He's training. He's getting better. Ronald Darby, Houston signed in the offseason. Tremont Smith, familiar face, career special teamer, 19 snaps at corner in 2024. D'Angelo Ross improved from year 1 to year 2 with the Houston Texans, but he's also a guy that is a career special teamer, and you don't want to see a lot of, right? Remember that Green Bay game? Rookie cornerback Jalen Smith. Now, as of right now, Smith is listed as the Houston Texans backup nickel. And I think that is a great way to kind of lead this conversation, because when I look at Smith, though he played cornerback in college, I think that with his traits, everything that he brings to the game, he reminds me a lot of what makes Jalen Petrie good. And I don't want to see that as a reserve guy, a guy that you may need to count on, especially in his rookie year, right? Dino Vasso would get his hands on him, and he's one of my favorite coaches with this coaching staff. But in his rookie year, that is not a strength of his. Some of the knocks on him coming out was he'll keep his eyes in the backfield. He get caught with his eyes in the backfield, which would allow guys to get behind him. So as of right now, Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, Ronald Darby, Tremont Smith, D'Angelo Ross. That is not enough. And remember the Packers game this last season, right? Ross was here. He had to step in due to injuries. Ross had a rough outing against the Green Bay Packers. Nearly 100 yards, 1 TD, right? They were going at him at a course in that game. Is Darby a reliable option for the Texans coming up? Or is he going to be the next Jeff Okudah? Is he going to be the next CJ Henderson, who never really got a shot here in Houston? And I think that tells you how poor of the depth chart situation for the Houston Texans were last season. And when they were able to put Jeff Okudah in the game, after weeks of him not playing, he also didn't have a good preseason, didn't participate, didn't necessarily get out there like he probably wanted to. Yeah, he was torched. He didn't have good outings. And when I look at Ronald Darby from last year, when I look at the fact that is he going to be a good, reliable option for Houston, or will he be the next Jeff Okudah? The Texans torched Darby last season. Miami torched him. He got torched in Chicago, got torched in Detroit, got torched in Philly. Detroit, Philly, and Miami with their offense. You're looking at three of those teams that are some of the premier teams in the NFL, premier offenses in the NFL. And that's what his resume looks like last year. Teams were able to get the best of Darby last season, and he became unplayable towards the end of the season. So this is from an outside perspective, but don't take it from me. Hear from Locked On Jags host and my man Tony Wiggins on Ronald Darby and what happened with him last season.
So my brother John Hickman reached out to me and said, "Wait, talk about Ronald Darby." All right, so I will. Here you go. I'm Tony Wiggins with Locked On Jaguars. Here's what I got to tell you about Ronald Darby. Before the start of the 2024 season, when the Jaguars got Ronald Darby to come to be a part of this team, they were a team that had, for 2 straight years, rallied down, towards the stretch, and had won 9 games. One year they made the playoffs, one year they didn't. And Doug Peterson was at that stage where it was like, okay, you got to do something. And I think what they did, they convinced themselves to go out and get a veteran who had played, of course, with Baltimore and mainly also, with Buffalo and then with Peterson himself in 2017 in Philadelphia. So the one thing I was thinking, okay, they're adding some leadership, they're adding that veteran presence, that because of who he is and all of the things he's done and accomplished, he's going to give him that navigation system in his head. And he looked the part in camp as a technician. And I was kind of optimistic. And I had somebody, I can't recall who it was. It was like, hey, it's the worst signing they made. It's the worst signing they made. So it turns out it was probably the worst signing that the Jaguars made. A lot of that had to do with health. Then a lot of it had to do with untimely penalties. I don't know if it was necessarily penalties or getting beat. I just know this. Every time something bad happened, I had 1 or 2 people that listen to the pod every day that was like, I told you. Or they send me a screenshot of whatever it was that they told me about Ronald Darby that I kind of blew off in the offseason. So the 1 year here didn't go well because the Jaguars, nothing went well for the Jaguars. And then Ronald Darby was obviously not kept here. Now, what does that mean for Houston? I think this is why you asked me to do the video. I really don't know. Depends on what the expectation is. Houston, obviously, the record reflects that they're in a better position off of what they did last year. by winning a playoff game, they're in a better position than the team that Ronald Darby just left. So in terms of it being an apples to apples situation, it's not. It depends what they're asking him to do. He's got some really good corners that's already doing a whole bunch of stuff. And if you just want him to be that veteran presence and play limited snaps, or just to be a guy in training camp that, to see what he has left, but then to go through training camp with him as that veteran, being another dude that could be a sounding board for the two young corners. And of course, the real dog in there is the all-pro Stingley. But yeah, man, I think there was value in it, obviously, especially when you're a playoff team, the way Houston is. There's value, John. So Locked On Texans, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not a great thing, because just this time last year, I think the best case scenario is what I was wishing for, the Jaguars to get out of that union with Ronald Darby. But good luck to you, man. We'll see y'all this year. It's Tony Wiggins with Locked On Jaguars. Appreciate you.
That was the OG Wig, and I just want to get back to a couple of things that he mentioned before we move on. Depends on what the expectation is, and he said that in terms of what the Houston Texans and Ronald Darby's marriage could look like. Honestly, it needs to look like a guy that can come in, compete, and be ready when needed. Because a lot of the things that he said last season, for Ronald Darby, that took place last season, the injuries and wasn't ready when he got on the field. Like, it reminds me of Jeff Okuda. And I don't think, with everything the Houston Texans have done so far this offseason, kind of looking at everything that they did last season and their bumps in the road and where they could have gotten better, the one thing that I commend them on is kind of making up on some of their mistakes of just not doing their due diligence of getting guys out there that needs to be a part of the roster or may not to be a part of the roster. So if you can't come in and compete and actually be a part of that unit that is making plays and not just a body, I don't know how long Ronald Darby, can be an impactful player for the Houston Texans, and I could see him being moved on from. I also have more thoughts on that cornerback room, and then I'll dive into, does the Indianapolis coach scare you guys? Are you scared? Don't be scared. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, actually. And I know I have the Rockets hat on. A lot of us are still kind of pissed off about the other night, wetting the bed on Game 7, but the NBA playoffs has been everything that it needed to be. High-worthy performances, Aaron Gordon being a clutch player, the Indianapolis Pacers and Halliburton still in Game 1, right? That was a shock against the Cavs. You got major shifts, momentum shifts going on, and you got can't-miss moments every night, whether it's game-winning shots or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the action before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, same game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in the biggest moments? How could tracking their trend help you build your next bet? They got it over on FanDuel. They'll let you know how that player's been performing over the last couple of games. And how could a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet wins? And I'll tell you how it's going to add to the excitement. Oh, you got an extra $200 to win, to spend, to win back more. So if you're new to FanDuel, listen here, check it out. I got a deal for you. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Battle Red Nation, it's time to go to war. The too early AFC South look. Are you scared of the Colts? Before I go into that conversation, I do want to add to follow up from my predictions that either the Houston Texans will move on from Ronald Darby. I also have a scenario where they don't move on from him, right? They did sign him to a very inexpensive deal, right? And Tremont Smith got a 2-year deal worth $6 million. You look at what he adds to the special team unit, a unit that the Houston Texans really do value. Remember, guys, Nick Caserio has stated on several occasions that there are a lot of different ways to improve the roster, right? The roster that you see right now may not be the roster for week 1. And I expect for the Houston Texans to stay very active during the preseason, scouting the league for cornerback talent, right? Guys will be out there. Guys will be getting cut. Some guys may be available for a 26 late round pick. That is an option for the Houston Texans. And also just looking at some of the guys that are still available on the market. If you look at players that can come in and play, Rasul Douglas is still available. What does his price point look like, not only for the Houston Texans, but for himself around the league? And does he get picked up by a team? Is there any interest there for the Houston Texans? Asante Samuel Jr. is a player that is still available. And I do think that with his skill set, you may be looking at two interchangeable pieces between Samuel Jr. and Kamari Lassiter, though I'm a firm believer, and I said this when the Houston Texans drafted him, leaving Kamari Lassiter outside is for the best. You got some options here. Cameron Sutton is an option. Just guys that may be able to come in and be impactful players in their reserve role, kind of day one. I'm not looking for a starter. You have your two-starter set. This isn't like 2 years ago when the Houston Texans did not have Kamari Lassiter. They are coming into this season with Kamari Lassiter. They are coming into this season ready that their all-pro cornerback will be ready, and their sophomore cornerback, who a lot of us love, and he has potential to be a Pro Bowler in this league, had a great rookie year. He'll be ready as well. Now to shift gears, it's time to look at the AFC South. Today, tomorrow, and so on and so forth, I will be reviewing the AFC South, giving a too early prediction on whether or not the Houston Texans should be scared of the team that I am discussing, and if they have an opportunity to actually dethrone Houston as the back-to-back AFC South champs, or can Houston go for the trifecta? The Colts ended the season, the second overall team in the division, 8-9, right? Their offseason moves, they brought in Charvarius Ward, signed him to a 3-year deal, signed quarterback Daniel Jones. Oh, sorry, I'm in the middle of a show. So now you got Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones on the same roster. They also signed running back Khalil Herbert, cornerback Corey Ballantyne, and wide receiver Wesley French. Their draft, I like their first pick in the draft. They drafted Tyler Warren out of Penn State, right? The second pick they went with JT Timulawa, the defensive end out of Iowa State. Please forgive me if I mispronounced their name. They also went with Justin Wiley, cornerback out of Minnesota. Jalen Travis, offensive tackle, so they beef up the offensive line, the guy out of Iowa State. And we just got 2 Iowa State Cyclones here in Houston, so maybe they have some inside information on that guy. DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State, one of my favorite running backs in the draft. They got him in the 5th round. Quarterback Riley Leonard, defensive lineman Tim Smith out of Alabama. Out of all of the names, out of all of the moves that I just named, does any of them scare me? Am I worried about any of those players? Do I feel like the Indianapolis Colts, who finished second in the division last season, do I feel like those moves get them to a place where they can compete with the Houston Texans? Now, my answer to that is no. And when I look at the other moves that were made in the AFC South, you got the Houston Texans, what they did with their draft, right? You got Higgins, Noel, Ursery. In the offseason, you brought in some guys. You solidified your roster, brought guys back, made sure that your key players aren't going anywhere. So you got them locked up for a couple of seasons, right? Helping yourself extend your Super Bowl chances to make a run over the next 2 years. Okay. Do I think that what the Colts did matches up to the Jags or Tennessee, who got their quarterback? That one move alone, and I can't wait to talk about it, but that one move alone could change the entire direction of their franchise. It really could. Cam Ward can change the perception of that offense with Bryce Callahan now. So when I look at the Indianapolis Colts and the moves that they made, honestly, guys, I think this team will be worse off. There's no confidence in Anthony Richardson for me right now. There is nothing about the last 2 seasons in the NFL that convinces me Anthony Richardson is going to take that next step. The young man has talent, no doubt about it. He is one of those players that I wholeheartedly believe his agent didn't fail him, because when you got a player that's going to be a top 5 pick and you getting top 5 pick money, you take it. You hop on it when you need to, when you have to, when it's hot, right? So I don't want to say his agent failed him. I don't want to say guys around him failed him. But in a sense, the team failed him. Anthony Richardson, by all counts, was a player that I felt like shouldn't see the field until his sophomore season. He was extremely raw, too raw. And the things that he does well, he does it well. However, you need time to do him well. You need protection to do him well. And in the AFC South alone, the Houston Texans have their defensive line. Tennessee has their defensive line. You know, the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's the defensive line that's getting better and better, right? They made some additions across that defensive line. Some of his mechanics are off, right? And so if we didn't see him play his rookie year and he got to have a full season just learning the game from the sideline and processing and getting an opportunity to be better, and then we saw him out on that field last season, my perception would be a little bit different. But we got 2 back-to-back seasons of him not finishing the season and also not necessarily being better in the areas of his game that he absolutely needs to be better at. So when I look at the too early, and this is too early, we are in May. We just got past Cinco de Mayo. We ain't got past Mother's Day yet. This is very early, right? And I get it. Training camp will come around. OTAs, mandatory minicamp start coming around, and we may see videos of Anthony Richardson just slinging the peel, and he's a much better quarterback. That could be the case. But based off of what my eyes, and I got 4 of them, showed me the last 2 years, he's not ready. I don't think the offense, if they're going to count on him, and that was a talking point all last season, if they have to continue to count on Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, and the running back group that they have, and they added Tyler Warren, he's going to be a quarterback-friendly piece. He is. And hopefully guys like Adonai Mitchell got better. But those guys just don't scare me in the AFC compared to guys like Travis Hunter, who I think, and I've seen Texas fans kind of overlook that kid. That young man was the best pure player in this year's draft. Plain and simple. That's why a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars traded up for him. The Colts, on the other hand, snooze fest, honestly. No fear whatsoever. The Houston Texans could be walking by, they could be walking through the valley of shadow and death. And when it says fear no evil, they're talking about the Indianapolis Colts. They fear no evil. Now we got to look at the 2 early power rankings. Do you overreact? Do you not care? How do you feel about the NFL viewing the Houston Texans kind of a middle of the pack team right now? But you can say goodbye to sticky notes, scribble plans on the fridge, and overlapping calendar invites because of Skylight Calendar. The Skylight Calendar is here to bring clarity to the chaos and help families stay organized without the stress. This sleek digital display syncs with your existing calendar, Google, Apple, Outlook, and more, making it simple to track appointments, practices, dinners, and reminders all in one easy-to-see place. It's some parents out there who got to juggle basketball practice, soccer practice, volleyball practice, dinner dates. It's some parents out there that need this, and I may be looking at my reflection. What would it mean to eliminate the I don't know excuse from your family's routine? How often do plans get missed because they're buried in a digital calendar or not written down at all? I know for a lot of us, this happens frequently, right? Sometimes life can get away from us. Would you like seeing your whole weekly schedule clearly on a 15-inch HD screen to help you stay focused and less overwhelmed? Let me tell you something, guys. This is the perfect gift. You got Mother's Day coming up, right? It could be a late gift if you don't get it in time. You have birthdays coming up. Some of you guys are getting ready to have seniors in high school. A lot will be picking up around this time of year. Some of you guys have kids going to college. They're going to have a lot on their plate. They need to stay focused. They need to stay locked in. Skylight Calendar can help you with that. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to skylightcal.com/NFL. That is skylightcal, CAL.com/NFL for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That is skylightcal.com/NFL. Thank you for making the Locked On Texans your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. The NFL draft is over, but the roster moves and news never stops. Host Kyle Crabb and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Texan fans, we are back talking the Houston Texans and all of the things that is too early to tell, the too early show. Right. Hopefully you guys are listening to this podcast too early in your day. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know how you feel. Before we dive into the too early power rankings, I want to circle back to a conversation. I don't want to see a receiver with no big man number or no running back number. And I'm kind of sick of it right now. The numbers that are taking 0, Braxton Berrios, 12, 12 out here, Nico Collins, 3, Tank Dell, Jaden Higgins, no number. Xavier Hutchinson, 19. Xavier Johnson, 89. Johnny Johnson. It's a lot of Johnnies and Johnsons and Jalen's all on this team and everywhere. Johnny Johnson, the third, 88. Christian Kirk, 13. John Mechie, the third, 8. Jalen Noel, no number. Justin Watson, no number. Jared Wayne, 14. So we have 17 is available. 15 is available, but 15 is kind of a whack number for a receiver. I can't think of too many good receivers with the number 15. 82 maybe for Higgins, right? I think 82 would be nice for Higgins. No 81 on this team, right? And we know nobody's going to get 80. But like Tank Dell is 3. Jalen Noel, he's a guy that I'm looking at the receiver numbers. Long story short, please do not get out there with any number that needs to go to any other position. I need to see receiver numbers with receiver numbers. Now, the too early power rankings for the Houston Texans, do they matter? The NFL power rankings came out. The Texans ranked 19th in the NFL power rankings, preseason, of course, and we're well before the preseason. Last year, around this time, the Houston Texans were the 14th team in the power rankings before this season started. My message to that, and I hope I speak for the Texan fan base, you guys have welcomed me with open arms. I appreciate it. I've been in some of y'all houses, whether it be on TV or just walking through the door. It don't matter. It does not matter. And let me tell you why it matters, why it don't matter, right? Because it mattered last year and didn't lead to nowhere. The results were the same. So you look at some of the guys, teams that may be in front of the Houston Texans. Okay, maybe it's good for them. But when I look at where the Houston Texans want to go, when I look at where they want to go, like, I don't care that Tampa is in front of Houston. Does it matter that the Chargers are in front of Houston? I don't think that matters. I think what matters for Houston is completely locking out the outside noise, right? And defensively, they did that last season. They'll do it again this year. But if you noticed, it's been quiet. That offensive side has been quiet. Yeah, they hired Nick Caley, promoted Cole Popovich, brought in some new faces on their coaching staff. A lot of people love the way the Houston Texans went about their draft, getting 2 of the top receivers come out of college this past year. But it's been quiet. Not a lot of war tools going on right now. right? Not a lot of buddy podcasts, which is a good thing. This is not a shot. I in no way did I have a problem with what CJ Stroud did last season. But the power rankings for Houston going into last season, it was as high as it was because the thought process was that offense was going to kill it. And now when you look at the Houston Texans not being as high as they were last year, the thought process is because last year's offense stunk so bad. And the question marks and the uncertainty around what realistically will Nick Haley bring to this offense, what it's going to look like. And so for the outside guys looking in, I don't know. No Larry Tunsil. I don't know how they rebound protecting their quarterback without their stud left tackle. Cam Robinson and Trent Brown, I don't know if those guys will be able to, have much in the tank for Trent Brown and if Cam Robinson can hold up for 16, 17 games. I don't know what Ed Ingram and Thomason is going to do for this Houston Texans interior offensive line unit. I don't know. For some people, they don't even know who's going to be the top tight end. I'm seeing reports that, I read an article where, maybe Houston can move on from Dalton Schultz. But nobody knows what the wide receiver room is going to look like aside from Nico Collins. So with the hype that Houston came in last season about their offense and how it ended, and with the question marks Houston has right now, sliding down the power rankings is not a big deal. You shouldn't care. And also, I would say that once Houston gets to the midseason form and we start to look at the power rankings, then you better well hope they're higher than where they are now, though. Because it's too early to tell what the Houston Texans is going to be. But if it matters later, it's going to matter now. And later, by week 8, that offense needs to be clicking. Because if it don't, then those power rankings may matter. Maybe they were right. Maybe Houston made a mistake. But I don't think that they did. I think that the Houston Texans had a good offseason, bringing in guys with the influence, the structure, and the cohesiveness to get this offense back on track. Again, this is all too early conversation, but thank you guys for watching and listening to today's episode. Do me a favor. Subscribe, like, and comment wherever you get your podcasts, especially on YouTube. Make sure you check out the audio podcast as well. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Next time we talking Houston, then we're going to look at the offense. Then from the offense, we're going back to the defense. Do I have my concerns that are way too early to even blow up and be upset about? Yes, I do. But I can't wait to talk back to you guys. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texas fans across the nation, peace.